Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, and it's a very special episode. It's episode 300, and for that, we've decided to do this in Google Meets or Hangouts or Chats or whatever it is.
We definitely decided to change all of the technology just for episode 300.
That's it.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with Discord shitting the bed.
Nothing to do with that at all.
Also, I apologize for my framing. Oh wait, I think I could adjust this hotel chair higher. No,
No, you're there.
I'm in a hotel.
As a special episode, we've got our favourite Canadian returning to us all the way from Canada.
Oh, I've managed to put this chair down more, but it doesn't come up. Oh wow, this is some hijinks. Aha!
I mean,
Okay,
we've started as we usually do, mean to continue with as well.
Life here has not gone as planned. I will save you all the details, but helping my parents move was the object of this trip, and the packing was a nightmare, and the move and the work that needs to be done in their house is such that even though it's the 26th and they were supposed to be in their house on the 18th, we are in a hotel.
But at least it's a hotel with good internet.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. And obviously, hey, Aadil to return to us for episode 300. But hey, Lucy as well.
Hello, hi, I'm here. just about made it.
Almost. Discord's got a lot to answer for. I mean, not really that much. It's been pretty good for, maybe not quite 300 episodes. We haven't used it for that long, to be fair. Let's open some beers and just hang out and get cracking with episode 300. You will, listener, friend, find out kind of I suppose, towards the end of the show, I might give a little bit of a chat about what we're going to be doing, a little bit of change coming maybe to the episodes slightly, and a little bit of a format
I'm leaving,
change.
And so is Aadil. Aadil is currently detained.
Yes, that's it. That's why he's in a hotel. Nothing. Yeah. So yeah, we'll chat about that a little bit later. But also, we'll probably have a much bigger, more bombastic, longer episode at some point in the future when we're all in the country and it's sort of, safe to hang out again and we can all sit around a table together and share some beers. So episode, the explosive, incredible episode 300, it will come later.
Yeah.
But it's like 310 or something like that. Who knows? We'll sort that out at some point. Exactly.
At this rate.
But at least with
fine.
the changes that we may be making, that's only in a year's time. So let's, we'll see about that however we go. So let's open some beers. Aadil, we haven't heard from you for ages. What beers have you got?
I've got from Zero Issue Brewing right here in Calgary, Alberta. I've got the Innsmouth Mango Passion Fruit Sour. It's a 4.8% beer. It's got some lovely art by artist Scott A. Ford.
Okay. That's tentacly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, 4.8% Mango Passion Fruit Sour. Curious, I haven't really had a Calgarian sour, so I'm looking forward to trying it. I think I've mentioned in the past that since I left Calgary, there's been just a boom of craft breweries here. So, it's like a city I don't even know beer wise. So I'm always excited to see just how it compares to when I used to live here.
While you're, while we're cracking about that, maybe we'll jump into that kind of after we've rounded out all of our beers, like the changes that you might have seen since kind of being back, if you've had a chance to get out there. But first, Lucy, what are you cracking into?
I am going to start with a beer from Whiplash. Pretty sure I didn't have this on the podcast before because unnamed beer company sent me a duplicate order.
Amazing.
So I have double beers.
Nice. Absolutely no notifications back to them to let them know.
I have no morals. When it's a smaller company, I have morals. Bigger company, no such morals.
That's fair.
This is Water Jump from Whiplash. It has Pale malt, oat malt, carapils, wheat, equinox, galaxy, and strata, and it is 6.8%. Have I had this before on the podcast? I don't think I did.
What was the Whiplash
Check it
I
out,
had?
Sven.
Horsepower. Horsepower.
Okay.
I can't check, mate, because I can't come off my browser tab because
Oh,
Google
right,
just
you
will
know,
just
so-
cut all the video out for some reason.
Well, if I have, oh well.
No checks. No way to look at all. No one else to be able to do any of this whatsoever.
But yeah, 6.8% IPA.
Nice.
yeah.
Is that one got horses on it?
No.
Water jump would suggest, something a bit more horsey as well. Maybe in a bit of a horse mode.
No, it's looks like someone skipping on the beach.
Okay.
Literally jumping on the beach. So
Nice.
I
I
think
like
we're
that.
clear. Yeah.
That's pretty tame for a Whiplash label as well.
I like it though.
Yeah, it's very good. Nice.
It reminds me of that game. What's that game? Set in Ireland. I played where you like doing like pencil sketches in a notebook.
Oh,
you and Ben played that, right?
yeah, If Found.
Yes. Great game.
Nice. I'm going for a new brewery this week. Actually, 2 new breweries for my biz. The first is a very hard word to say. Azvex. I think it's Azvex Brewing Company, which a little bit naughty. Looks like Alpha Delta, doesn't it? On the
I was
can.
about to say, that doesn't
I
look
saw
new.
that. Yeah.
I'm going to drink Lava Lamp Encryption, which is Citra, Mosaic, and Galaxy double IPA at 8%. There's 0 flavour text.
Is that the Liverpool based, are they?
Yes, they are Liverpool based. I think from what I can gather, they were or have been set up. It's a new brewery set up from the same people who started Neon Raptor.
Oh, okay.
They're a good brewery, so high hopes for this.
Neon Raptor from Nottingham, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw Alpha Delta do a beer that was basically, what is it? What's their name?
Azvex.
Backwards. Yeah, Azvex.
Yeah.
It's basically their name backwards. I was like, that's pretty good.
Well, it's good as well. It's nice that there's, maybe if there isn't a relationship, or even if there is, but that there's that little bit of, banter going back and forth, and not
I'd
just
be annoyed,
lawsuits.
I'd be very annoyed because that is too similar. Yeah.
It is very similar. Yes. We can talk about that in a little bit as well. Aadil, we'll come back to you for the beer.
Yeah. It is poured with minimal head. Almost, it's quite a yellow room, but it almost looks like sparkling apple juice.
It's like shandy.
Yeah, that's a good, sparkling apple juice, aka cider. It almost looks like a cider, might have been a more appropriate way to say that. On the nose, I'm getting that tropical fruit and that sour. It's really quite lovely, actually. I was like, oh, yeah, this does not smell like a beer, but it definitely smells like a sour, and I'm getting more of the passion fruit than the mango off the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Sorry. It starts extremely tart.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not extreme. It starts quite tart in the sense that it's a sharp tartness, and that's the only thing happening. So you're like, oh, shoot. But it's not, like, overwhelming my senses. And then now that I'm getting a bit used to it, actually getting some maltiness, but mostly it's this, like, very tart, and then the passion fruit is being much more of a bridge, and the finish is mostly the mango. Yeah, this feels like sours a few years ago in Bristol.
Okay.
In the UK. So very tart forward. And like there's fruits happening, but it's not really melding. It's sort of like it's fruity and sour versus like things like we're spoiled with like Vault City having their sours at, like just be within the fruit taste. This is very much a sort of we're balancing the fruit taste with the sourness. These are separate parts of the beer, and it's interesting and it's tasty, but it's definitely not like melded in the way that I think I've just been spoiled on. It finishes a bit dry, and there's a bit of an almost aspartame-ness to the finish. I think it's just that tartness with when the mango recedes. I'm not getting anything else, and it finishes a bit dry. It's like it's just like my palate's a bit dry and drawn out from the tartness, and then once everything else is finished, the finish itself doesn't have anything else going on, so it just gives me that hollowness, the aspartame sort of hollowness. If that makes sense.
Okay.
I have a feeling I might drink this quickly because of that, because I'll want to sort of get out of that zone of the finish. But
okay, nice. Lucy, the water jump.
I've already started sipping on it because it smells so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just tropical fruits, like not really much more on the nose, but that's enough. It's just so good. It smells, I guess, bit of mango, bit of pineapple maybe. Just yeah, really good. But yeah, and that carries through to the taste. It's so fruity. Got a nice bit of hoppiness as well. So it's not a complete like juice bomb, but it is very, it's quite thick and creamy though, and so it has got like those juice bomb elements where it is like, yeah, this is mostly fruit forward. There's not a lot of bitterness on the end. There's a little bit, but with Whiplash beers, like I think we spoke about it. What was it last week when you had the horsepower? It's just like, yeah, this is all fruit. This is all flavor, all not really much going on with the bitterness end of it, but I mean, it even looks like juice. Looks like orange juice, or maybe pineapple juice because it's quite light straw coloured.
It's got that sort of thickness to it as well.
Yeah,
it looks like
it's got a nice mouthfeel to it. As I say, like that creaminess coats your mouth really well, and yeah, just a whole bunch of fruit in it. It's so good. I love Whiplash.
Yeah, absolutely. Whiplash are brilliant. Even in their more subtle beers, they just showcase. Even if it's not a big flow and kind of a lot, they do showcase what they're looking at very well.
Yeah, there's nothing subtle about this. I think they're going for just fruit in this. But yeah, as I say, it's got a nice bit of hoppiness and a bit of pininess in the end, just to make it so it's just not like one-dimensional. Yeah, I love this. I mean, I don't know if I could separate it from a lot of other Whiplash beers because it is very similar. I mean, you give me this in a blind taste test and I'll be like, that's a Whiplash beer. So it doesn't really differentiate itself, but that's fine because I love the way their beers taste.
Yeah.
Yeah, just gorgeous. Love it.
Perfect. I'm trying to think of my Whiplash beer from last week, but people can go back and have a look and listen to the episode if they want to know those thoughts. But for this week, the Azvex, I keep wanting to say Avex, but it's Azvex. It had a lovely nose, a big mango, quite ripe as well, with a hint of kind of almost sort of like candied sort of sweetness. So kind of you're getting that fruit juice, but you're also getting this kind of candied fruit sweetness from it as well. And I don't think they didn't give me much in terms of the ingredients. We just get the allergens really, and then the hops on the front. So I don't know what else has gone into this one, but on the flavour, again, it's another beer which is sort of edging between those two kind of ends of double IPA that we have. Lots of beers that I'm finding at the moment, double IPAs, are sort of trying to find this more middle ground. So we got the more fruity kind of element to it. That comes in right at the start. There's a nice sweet sort of mango in there straight away. And that then ripens almost in the mouth really quickly, and gets more to an earthy kind of a little bit of a grassy sort of flavour to it. But it definitely starts to feed in and make you feel that there's going to be this quite bitter finish, but it's actually quite light and a little bit sort of subtle. So the flavour sort of flows, but from that nice sort of fruity start into a little bit more of an earthy bitterness, and then you think, I'm going to be hit by a big bitterness here, and it doesn't quite come. There's something that just raises very slightly in its bitterness, but it's not massive, which is nice in one way because it makes it very, very easy to drink. And it's a little dry, so it's drying me out quite nicely, and I'm sat there thinking, well, I'll go back for the flavour rather than it being a big bitter beer and then going, right, yeah, I want to experience that again. But it kind of misses that big bitterness at the end as well. It sort of, it flows through these nice flavours and you think, bam, there it isn't. It's not there. It's not quite there. And it kind of, just for me at least, feels like it should have just been there as well. Just lifted that bitterness in there just a little bit. But it's nice. As a first beer from them, it's well made. It has a nice flavour profile to it, and it's very easy drinking for an 8% DIPA. So,
does it taste like the Mersey?
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not an earthy, grassy sort of flavour. Maybe it is just Mersey water that I'm getting in. Maybe it's it's not quite straw. It has got that little brown tinge to it as well.
It's an odd colour.
It is
Very peach.
Yes, absolutely on camera. But again, it's maybe a little bit, maybe a little more orange on the camera than it is. But it's thick. You can't see anything through it. It's a solid block of colour as well. It fizzed quite nicely out of the can. So I had about an inch of head when I poured, which just instantly disappeared and left almost nothing. It's like a flat glass of just squash, apart from the from the thickness of it. But yeah,
It's
that's
an odd
nice.
looking one. Yeah.
Good. Let's enjoy these beers. Aadil, we'll jump into you first. Let's talk about some beer a little bit. It's it's a big topic that's probably on everyone's minds about beer going on right now. But let's come to Canada for some beer. Have you managed to get out and about much on your trip? I know you've been obviously very involved with helping your parents move, but have you been able to kind of get out into the scene a little bit?
Not really, because of Omicron fears, and for the first week or so I was here, I was with my sister and my niece, who's 2, thus unvaccinated. And then after that, it was moving nonsense. But I did go for a walk with my friend Diane, the one who cross-stitched the tanked up logo, and her new man friend. And we wandered around downtown and then ended up outside on a beer garden, which is really just AstroTurf and ice because Calgary. And it was at Cold Garden. It's one of the older new breweries. I mean, so it's still under 10 years old, I think.
Yeah.
But they've got a tap room and, like I said, a space that they've made on the concrete asphalt to be like their patio, when given that they can't use their big tap room, or they can now, I guess, because Alberta is also a conservative capital. But and I had the all-nighter vanilla cappuccino porter, which was a 5.8% cold pressed coffee, vanilla E porter, and it was really good. The vanilla was not too. It was just enough to mellow out the coffee in the beer. But other than that, no. I've had sort of in the first week of January, I was like, some nights I might have a cheeky pour of scotch because my dad always has some Callantens around. Other than that, I haven't really drunk all month.
Okay, that's fair.
Dry January.
Yeah. Not by choice,
Imposed,
so
not
much.
self-imposed, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I also am such a social drinker normally that it's like, well, I'm just
Sure.
in this hotel room with my folks.
Yeah.
Hey, only takes one more person to make a party, so.
That's true.
Did you, for the beers that you've got today, did you then pick them up on that little trip, sort of from a bottle shop, or?
No, I ended up going to the co-op liquor store near my parents' new house, and I had a lovely chat. I was also looking. One of the Alberta Rye Whiskey has been award-winning for a few years, and it's relatively inexpensive. And they came out with a premium version, and so I bought a bottle of that because I haven't bought a whiskey in a long time. It's just not a thing you can track down on the other side of the pond. And then because I asked about that $80 bottle of whiskey, I was then like, so craft beers, I have a podcast. And then the big problem, I don't know if you recall last time, was everything comes in 4-packs.
Yes.
And so it's like, But this guy was just like, I sometimes have a singles bin, so if there's any singles you want, grab them. And if there's anything in 4-packs you want, grab those, and I'll just bust them up.
Nice.
So
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lovely interaction with the man who runs the co-op liquor store on the day shift anyway. In the Hamptons in the northwest of Calgary. The Hamptons Co-op Liquor Store. That's my plug. There you go, buddy. But yeah, so I have actually a couple other ones that I'm hoping to try and bring back with me. If I can figure out how to pack them safely, etc. Just like I usually do, and then have them maybe next week.
Yeah, perfect.
But yeah, other than that, it's been, like I said, I've seen Diane and Phil, and then I saw my buddy Henry last night, and other than that, it's just been fam time. It's not really been in Calgary so much as trying to get, like, let's put it this way, my parents lived in that house for 27 years, and I got there on the 28th of December, and they hadn't packed a thing.
Bless their hearts.
Yeah.
They were just waiting for you to.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. So it's just not been one of those. Like, I've not really taken a trip to Calgary. I'm like functionally here to help my parents out, and I thought a month-long trip would be enough time for the other stuff. But thanks to the hiccups, it's like, well, I'm still with my parents in very close proximity, so I don't really. And like Omicron's a few weeks behind here than it is in the UK, so it's just like, it's fine. I can hang out and chat with the folks.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, if there's anything we do well, it's just let new variants just tear through. Just get it over and done with. Just like ripping off the plaster, we just do it immediately.
That's it. Just let it.
We
through.
don't even put the plaster on. Yeah, it's just like why
pointless.
Pointless. Yeah.
Good. Let's continue talking about beer a little bit then. I would imagine that lots of people have seen this big old Brewdog news. I haven't seen the documentary that was done by the BBC yet. It's probably weekend viewing potentially. But I don't think it's come out with anything that we probably didn't already know, right?
Or assume.
From reporting and stories that people have kind of come forward with, and the various accounts on sort of Instagram and Twitter, which have been sort of spotlighting, kind of abusive practices in the industry and stuff. And Brewdog have been a big kind of part of that over here. So they're already on lots of people's shit lists. I think this, at least the BBC doc, has probably brought them out on slightly more people's shit lists, I would imagine. But there's a big knock-on in that other companies that then work with Brewdog have started to pull away from them. So Cloudwater, the Queer Brewing Project as well, who were part of the sort of the Cloudwater box that's contract brewed at Brewdog and then put out into Tesco. There's lots of moves kind of being made to come away from those contracts and contract brewing with Brewdog. So a little bit of a background. None of us really drink Brewdog here anyway. But do you see a sea change for most of the people drinking as the sort of the talking point here? Do you think it's going to have any impact at all on kind of their market share, on what we see in the supermarkets from people, or is this it's just within our little craft beer bubble, really?
Yeah, because I wouldn't have even known about it unless you posted that link to me. So, and I don't really pay much attention to the news. I just drink the beer, and I drink beer to get away from news, not look into it. So, I think I think given the fact that it's a BBC documentary, maybe some people who are like, who do drink it, but that's their only craft beer, or that's the only beer they drink. Maybe they see that and think, oh, maybe I should, vote with my wallet and drink something else. But I imagine that's a small subset of people who are actually watching that documentary and then, seeking out that information and start drinking it. But just by virtue of like Cloudwater and, what is it, queer brewing, you say as well?
Yeah.
Just pulling out of those deals and having those removed from shelves. Maybe someone's like, oh, I really like that beer. Where's it gone? Where's it gone from my Tesco? Like, some people probably just think that that's just like normal stock rotation.
Yeah.
But maybe people are like, I like that beer. Where's it gone? I drink this and my Peroni and nothing else.
Right.
And it's like if someone pulls Peroni, it's like, probably look into it. So, but yeah, I think that's a small subset of people. And I think things will change, not from Brewdog's bottom line as such. I mean, it will hurt certainly, but I think just from the beer industry itself is a very tight knit community. Like, everybody knows each other. There's a lot of collaborations and people going to everybody else's brewery. So I think just peer pressure will hopefully get them to change.
I mean, I guess the way I see it is there was that open letter and there was articles in the Guardian and stuff last July.
Last summer.
Yeah, last June. And not much came out of it except maybe the wheels for this documentary. And I did a quick check, and the Guardian has another article about James Watt being accused of trying to intimidate ex-staff over the expose, and he's making a big deal and tweeting about how he's going to take them to court and things. But I just see that as well. Brewdog apologized a year, 6-7 months ago, and that was it. Nothing changed. And so this feels like I don't have a lot of faith in the news cycle and holding people to account versus making a splashy headline. And the other thing is, I think on British Beer Girl's Instagram, someone mentioned that it's really bizarre that James Watt is getting, because he's the big boss, is getting all the heat, because a lot of the things that she's been publicizing, the anonymous accounts of really bad pay and how they ran bars and stuff, he hasn't been in charge of bar running for a long time.
Sure.
But all the media is very focused on him, so that gives Brewdog a really good, hey, scapegoat him out, give him a golden parachute, we'll be fine. We fix things moving forward. It's top to bottom cronyism and stuff.
Yeah, and it's sad because their whole MO from the beginning was punk, punk IPA, and that shouldn't come at the expense of anybody else, though. It's okay, you want to differentiate yourself from your big macro corporate beers, but being edgy and new kid on the block doesn't mean you. It sort of feels like you should be doing the opposite of excluding people and making people, feel crap. So it's very strange.
Well, it's the white supremacy side of punk, right? Not the actual punk ethos, but we like the people who co-opted the look to do bad things.
the red pill.
Can't listen to no more oi bands anymore because they're all just fucking racist. Yes, not the oi bands of old that everyone loves. Yeah, but I think you're right in that there is that opportunity now for Brewdog to kind of come out on top of this. I mean, how intertwined is Brewdog with James in terms of sort of like the public image and those kinds of things? How much shares is he in for to not kind of want to then give it up and that kind of thing? But there's a potential, as you say, to scapegoat him a little bit, push him out and just continue on. And not change any of the cultures. And since sort of last summer and kind of what's happened, we, are not privy to what they may be doing behind the scenes and these kinds of things. But again, nothing has sort of been reported in a positive light in terms of those sorts of changes. So it seems very much like it's all slow moving, if moving at all, in those kinds of ways. And obviously solidarity with all of the workers in Brewdog who are just trying to make a fucking living. People who absolutely love beer and see this as a perfect way to get into the industry, either working in bars or brewing with them, or even people, smaller breweries who collaborate and then contract brew out to them to be able to push them to more people and more kind of customers, and saw that as a valid kind of business path to be able to go to. So absolutely, we stand with all of those people who are gonna be affected by this as well.
This is just, I mean, I don't know if it's just something that naturally happens, but it's always a case of have a very small, company, and just by, sizing up, getting more people, sometimes people just like, oh Christ, we have to hire HR now. It's not just two dudes in a garage brewing beer, and it's like, I don't know, like, I guess some people are just, as you say, Aadil, it's a whole culture of like cronyism and everything like that, and it's like there comes a point where it's like there should be someone telling them, grabbing them by their shoulders and shaking them. It's like, you can't do things the way you used to do it when it was just the two of you. And it's like, to be, a big company, publicly traded, like we see this so much in the games industry. Like, it starts off with 5 dudes, being crappy to each other because it's like frat culture, and it's like, that may be okay between you lot, and it's like, as soon as, I don't know, a woman or a minority enters the fold, they're like, let's carry on.
Yeah.
And they don't see anything wrong with it, and I just don't understand. It's like, have some awareness of your surroundings, But some people have just never had to, because they don't migrate to other spaces where maybe they're the minority, or it's just, but come on, they're a big company now. It's like, it's about time, take some social responsibility for what you're doing,
Absolutely, and take responsibility for all of those people that you employ as well. The public image that your company has. It's there's always the argument that I kind of don't fall back on, but can understand, in that if they went bust tomorrow, the same with kind of big video game companies, there is going to be massive fallout for the people that kind of work for them, and there will be other jobs. People will scoop them up, and then kind of, the industry is this big. If this much falls out of it, it will be absorbed up over time by everyone else. The industry will still be this kind of big, but obviously that takes time, and lots of people, especially people who work in the service industry, are kind of living paycheck to paycheck anyway. So to suddenly be out of work for several months, if something like this kind of went down, and the company just stopped, which it's never going to do, to be fair.
They're too big at this point.
But that does knock on to maybe smaller breweries who were, brewing with them, or contract brewing with them, or these kinds of things. I again don't know the ins and outs of kind of contracts and stuff. But I always remember when we talked to the people at Brewdog, when we had the episode with them a few years ago now, that they were contract brewing up with Brewdog, and it seems, you know, like it's a very good way to kind of be able to scale up because of how big Brewdog is, and getting in with them to be able to do that. So this will impact on other people in that kind of way as well, you know, whether it's sort of startup breweries and things like that, which suddenly have a very big moral conundrum, and have probably had these thoughts for the last sort of 6 months to a year anyway, potentially. So yeah, it's a weird kind of time, but and I think going back to the original point, we're probably all in agreement that it is just within our little craft beer bubble that we're having these discussions and stuff.
I'm genuinely surprised it was, you know, the BBC covered it and it wasn't just, you know, an article in the Guardian, as you know, Aadil mentioned. But
I mean, well, it wasn't like it was aired on BBC One or anything, right? Like it's still.
Oh right, was it just like only on iPlayer for 2 days?
I think it was. I don't think it was even that, Lucy. I think it was live on BBC in Scotland.
Yes, I believe that's what it was. Yeah.
It wasn't even on English BBC, so you can probably watch it on iPlayer. But
yeah, I think it's
if you look for
episode 4 of the
is it Dispatches?
Disclosure program.
Disclosure.
Yeah.
So not Dispatch. And you can only watch it at 10 p.m. whilst eating haggis. That's the only way.
10:30 p.m. in Scotland, actually.
10:30. Yeah, that's yeah. It's a weird one though. I'm talking about the broadcasting, not even the situation. Just like only on Scottish BBC. It's like, okay, right, because they're like, you know, they're very big over in England as well. So you know,
Yeah, I mean, yes, the brewery is based in Scotland. Yes,
they've got, you know, they're actually kind of big in America as well.
Yeah.
You know, so,
I mean, these days it kind of doesn't really matter where you're based, does it? Anything goes, especially when certain governments kind of just do what the fuck they like, and kind of just tell everyone else that they, you know, at least corporations can do whatever the fuck they like.
Yeah. It's a shame because, you know, I want to feel better about Brewdog beers and in general, and because I'm sure their products still taste okay, some of them, especially like that. I think like they have their Overworks range where it's like experimental small batch beers, and it's like, you know, I'd love to be in that space where I don't feel terrible about them. I mean, this is why, like, you know, when it was the whole thing where it's like, oh, these guys are selling out to this company and this company, like Magic Rock and Beavertown. It's like, and I think we were all in the space of like, I mean, I'd also sell out if I had the opportunity to. Me personally, not speaking for you two, but we were all in like, okay, we're not going to boycott their beers and stuff like that. Remember when that was like the scandal?
What was that, like 2 years ago now? 18 months ago, something like that? Yeah. Is it really?
Like, I mean, just you know, when everybody was getting bought by like, I don't know, you know, AB and Bev and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
is it Kirin who own Magic Rock these days, or whoever owns Kirin, Lion Group or something like that? Yeah.
Do you remember when that was the, you know, big controversy?
Yes.
Rather than you know, with who was it? Gosh, the is it the Danish guys who were? Oh God, who was it? They own War Pigs, don't they? McKellar, yeah, the whole scoop last year about them having really crappy practices as well. So
yes, and all of the pullouts from the beer festival that they run. Yeah, I mean, it's again like craft beer bubble, right? Yeah, that thing is being picked up by people in the industry saying, hey, breweries who are associated with, you know, shitty practice brewery number one, kind of do better, re-look at your relationships with these people and see kind of, you know, what you're kind of doing. And there was lots of chat again around, hey, we're gonna, the breweries or someone at one of the breweries probably put through the idea of like, hey, let's have this meeting and chat to kind of the people that are affected. Like, we'll make them come all the way over to the festival, get on a plane and come on over to the festival to have some kind of say in front of a big crowd about this. And it's like, we really need to think about how we're engaging with people and how we're actually, bringing forward voices and these sorts of things. And it starts like usually at the bottom in smaller companies, but it needs to proliferate all the way through to the top.
Agreed, yeah.
And it's only when it actually happens at the top that it becomes standard. So there definitely needs to be some kind of change at Brewdog for there to be a wider industry change in how people are treated, essentially.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing. I think McKellar and Brewdog are they're too big at this point where, as I was talking about that peer pressure, maybe that doesn't matter to them now, because it's like we still got our pubs internationally. We still got we're still trading and selling beers in multiple markets. Like, just because people like us feel bad about not buying 1 or 2 beers from us each week or month or whatever it is, we don't need to care about you. We have the mass market now,
right?
Which is that would be crappy, but because you're just basically shunning all your peers, and it's like, this very macro kind of attitude to things. But maybe they're at that point, like, say if like a brewery the size of Whiplash had that kind of expose and like scandal, it's like they're small enough where it's like if people stop working with them, they'd be effed. So
they're done. Like, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But maybe McKellar and Brewdog are just too big at this point for the peer pressure specifically to actually make a change. I'm sure their beers will just get even crapper, and that'll stop people buying them. But we can all hope that maybe people have more discerning taste. But no, people still buy Carling, so.
This leads us into an excellent segue into what's been happening in video games at the moment. But I feel like we need maybe just a bit of a nicer note to continue on, and not just talk about doom, gloom, and people being cunts for 20 minutes or something. Just talk about something nice a little bit. So maybe we'll interject a little bit with what we've been playing. It raises a good point for you, listener, that we are going to be changing how we structure the podcasts going forward. We're going to make them a little bit more accessible, shoot them down to an hour, but you'll have 2 a week. So we're still going to sit here for 2 hours. If you want to join us on Twitch and listen to us rant and rave and have a couple of beers for an evening, you can still do so. But we're going to shoot out an episode which is going to be kind of what we've been playing, talking about games and those kinds of things, and maybe what we've been drinking as well. But then for our second hour, as we kind of have been doing anyway, we'll be talking about a topic, something that we can really get into, something meaty that we can discuss. And that might range from industry news, the chat that we've just had, which has gone on for a reasonable amount, or maybe sort of bigger game reviews and discussions that we want to get into. So that's what we're going to do in the
joke's
future.
on you though, and you listeners. The topic every week is going to be about Super Metroid, so it's going to be a
episode 302 B Super Metroid. Episode 303 B Super Metroid.
B,
just constant.
Well,
the naming conventions we haven't worked out the naming conventions yet, but they're going to get absolutely ridiculous, aren't they? 2.5 Rebirth, only available on Switch or something. That'll be the name of
we
each
will not
episode.
be talking about Kingdom Hearts ever, because that is the day I leave.
We won't be talking about that, Lucy. Don't worry. Let's have a little brief discussion about what we've been playing. Aadil, I will come to you first because we haven't heard from you for a few weeks, and I mean, I'd imagine that you haven't had a huge amount of time to kind of put into anything. But is there anything at all that you've been playing? Anything at all? Even browser-based word games. Is there anything?
I was gonna say Wordle. I know now everyone and their dog has seen the damn Twitter posts and whatnot. But I Wordle most days. I've missed a couple because of things. For those of you who don't know, it's a browser-based game where you have 6 guesses at a 5-letter word. And so you just type out a word, 5 letters. Is it that word? And then it'll turn the letters yellow or green, depending on if the letter exists in the word, and if it's in the right place, it's green. If it just exists in the word, it's yellow, and if it's not, it stays gray, depending on your color. If you're in dark or light mode, that's it. Yeah, exactly right. And that's it. You now have to guess a subsequent word that uses that information. You have 6 total guesses to get the word. It's 1 word a day. It's powerlanguage.co.uk/Wordle.
I have it open, yeah. And it's the same 5-letter word for everyone across the globe.
It does reset on your internal clock, which is why my British friends are like, Wordle 220, and my North American friends are like, Wordle 219. I lead an exciting life, guys. It's very simple. It's so smart because it gives you more information, so it's very likely that you are narrowing down the possibilities. So getting it right in 5 or 6, like getting it right within the 6 is not as hard as it sounds because it's any 5-letter word, just because the possibility space gets narrowed very smartly.
Yeah, there's only 26 letters of the alphabet, so I'm sure someone's done a, calculus algebra equation or whatever it is.
Yeah, and there are a bunch of articles out there about like how to optimize. For example, what your starting word is. Some people use Ouija because it narrows your letters.
Wow,
really well.
Get all the vowels down.
Because I was like, what word has 4 vowels that I could use?
Yeah,
Ouija is a good word.
Yeah, and then like for example, someone's asked, what's a good starting word? And I thought about it, and if anyone who watched Wheel of Fortune knows that RSTLNE are the most used letters in the English language. So stern is a good one.
I'd go with stare.
Yeah,
either to stare or the stairs.
That's the thing. Like, I'm not vanilla, and I like to change up my.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but what I like about it is not optimizing it. I just don't care. Because it's 1 a day, you don't have to worry. If I was doing it over and over and over, like I would definitely feel the pull to try and optimize. But because it's 1 a day, and that's it.
Yeah,
I don't have to worry. And like I know a lot of people who try and pick a random word. What word do I think of, and then try and solve it from there. I'm a child. That's a junior high school child, so I use the word boner.
Okay.
Without fail, every time.
Nice.
Right.
It's like reasonably. It's got ERNB and an extra vowel. It's not a terrible one, but I just giggle. I giggle and I say, "Can a boner get me to the right answer every day?"
Every time. Yeah. I mean, I like to switch it up because, as you say, I'm not precious about it. I text my friend and she texts me every morning. I think Aadil, me and you are gonna have to set up a thread, just making you wordling. But yeah, it's just I love the shareability about it. Like that's the most genius thing for me. How
I was gonna say
you just press the share button and it goes into like emoji form, but it just shows like the yellow, gray, and green blocks.
Yes.
Just what's the word that I'm trying to use? Like imagifies it.
Yeah, it like makes a very clear graphic of how
infographic
of your round without actually having a single letter in it. So people and you share it and it gives you a grid of hopefully less than 6 lines but 5 columns, right, of your guesses. Black, black, yellow, green, green, black, black, green, 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 whatever. And it's really smart because also when people started sharing that, you see it from 2 people and you're like, what the fuck is this thing? Right? And I think that's why it got so viral, and that's why people are really angry when they just see it all the time in their Twitter timelines. But it's really, really well designed, because like that's part of the key to
It's wholesome
good
as
design.
well. It's not one of those. I mean, we've been through so many viral things in our lives. Like, I mean, look at Happy Slapping. That was one of the first that I remember, and that was god awful. And it's like, this is just wholesome. Like, the guy made it as a present for his wife, and then he just shared it because she likes word games, and then he just shared it with the world. And people who are making clones of it absolutely get torn down.
Yeah.
And, you know, this guy who had another app in the App Store called Wordle, had nothing to do with this one. He saw a lot of kickback, like, from people just looking for an app-based Wordle, and, you know, he donated all that money to charity. And it's like, there's so many good stories around it. There are some other ones, like some idiot making some bot that like looked at the code of the game and basically posts the next day's answers just to spoil it for people.
Oh dear.
And that got banned off Twitter or whatever it is. So it's like it just feels like in the year of our Lord 2022 when everything's awful, this just feels like, oh, Wordle will be the one.
That's how everyone gets pulled through the year. Just we see it for the whole year. Just
kind of like it kind of feels kind of like the sort of Animal Crossing shared wholesomeness. But like I think the key is that it's one a day and it's the same one. Because you can't overdose on it, and that's why sharing is okay. Because if I did 5 a day and shared them all, you'd be like, block.
It's
I don't want to say that.
What was that word game when? Or no, that picture game. Like someone drew a picture. It was basically like charades, and you shared it over app or whatever it is. This was like a decade ago, and it's like people would literally spam you. It's like, guess what I drew? Guess what I did? It's like, I've done this 8 times for you already. I'm doing it because I like you and you're my friend. But this is abuse. Stop sending me pictures.
So I did want to mention though that there are alternate Wordles out there, and one I particularly enjoy is Lewdle. Which is lewd words. Although you never can tell what words count as lewd.
I don't like that one. I'm
it's like, really hard.
I want wholesome. I don't want crude.
Lucy wants wholesome, not some holes.
I don't like Lewdle.
What I like about it is when you hit share, it includes a descriptor that says, don't fucking copy this or whatever, play the real game.
Oh, yes.
Like,
yeah.
So they've cloned it and they have a different dictionary, but they're just like, hey, support Wordle. Like, I'm not trying to do anything. They're also a 1 a day. They also have no ads.
Yeah.
They clearly get the spirit of the thing. But
and that's what's nice to see. Like, people are not, the original users are not monetizing it, and people are following suit. Like most.
Again, quick to jump on the trend. Gary Whitta, who wrote Star Wars Rogue One, is a writer and stuff. Got together with the developer and just made Lewdle, and now lots of people are playing it. You can look on Twitter. Stephen Fry plays Lewdle. Okay. There's loads of people that are sort of chatting about it. But I like how Wordle, as such, which has been around for a little while, but has now spawned in the last kind of week or two, roughly, come into the sort of the vernacular, and has spawned all of this stuff. So Townscaper, a game that we have enjoyed, people are sharing their grids using Townscaper by just using the yellow or green building and leaving things blank instead. So it's interesting how
copy the Twitter URL and paste it right into the Townscaper browser based builder, and it's because I did it with your tweet, Aadil. I don't do it. And that was fun.
Though I will say that my standard guess on Wordle, the day I found out about Lewdle, was the day Boner was on Lewdle, and so I one-shot him. Like, I'm never gonna do this in Wordle, right? for two reasons. One, it's
You can.
with all the 5-letter words, it's basically impossible. And
No,
two,
no, it's
I'm committed
not.
to just saying boner every time, and I don't think Wordle's going to go to boner, and now Lewdle won't go back. I'm like, well, I've beaten one of these games.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday, Kim plays. I haven't really got into it yet, but we worked it out. I sat with her and we worked it out together. And actually, I think yesterday's or maybe the day before was sugar, which seems like pretty good starting word. Right, you got your S, you got your R, you got a couple of vowels in there as well. You know, you maybe not being sort of quite as common. And yeah, it actually took us all 6 tries to get to sugar. But
my friend didn't get it.
But an
I
easy
beat her
starting
every
word.
single time, and I love it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Not a starting
so
word
the
for people
thing
now
is-
that they've used it, but a good starting word as well.
It's also just so easy to apprehend. Like, you might not have the vocabulary, but you get the rules. So on our family Zoom on the weekend, because I introduced my sister to it, now she does it with her 2 kids.
Oh, nice.
And so they were like, "Did you do today's Wordle?" And I was like, "No." And then my mom's generation, like my brother-in-law's parents and my parents and my other brother-in-law's parents were all on the call, and they're like, "What?" And so my niece, who's 11, went to Power Language, shared her screen, and we did the Wordle together, where the kids were like giving oblique hints to everyone, and it was like, it is wholesome family fun. But before we move away from Wordle startling, I have to say there's a thing called Absurdle.
Oh,
Yes, yeah, I saw
And
this.
it's
where it's a
probably the
dick.
most interesting thing someone's done with this like framework, and that is it fights against you. So it will change the word as you go along within the rules, right? You have unlimited guesses, but you're trying to have as few as possible to get to a 5-letter word.
Oh.
But every time you do a thing, it'll reject it, but you've still shrunk the possibility space, right? So if I guess Ouija, the word's going to have an E in it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's because it's going to change so Ouija isn't the word. Nothing in Ouija gets it right, or whatever. Some of the code, I think, sometimes does say yes to certain things, but basically it's adapting to make it the hardest for you. And so some people did the maths, and basically 4 is the best you can ever do on that game.
Oh wow, really? Okay.
But
So I
also,
shouldn't feel bad.
they also broke it and found an algorithm that guarantees success in 6. Because when a nerd makes a crazy, difficult nerd game, other nerds figure out how to beat it. And I just really like that narrative. But I've done a 5, I've done a 6, a 4, so I got a 4, and then the rest is like, it's really hard.
Yeah, I need to go back to it.
But I think it's worth doing a couple of times because I think it gets you a better appreciation for Wordle and like how the rule set works. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just really interesting from a different perspective on the Wordle game design, because it's like an exploitation of it, but it's still the same core rules. I think is really fascinating, but it's also arguably not that fun for most people. But it's worth trying. So
that's why I
definitely look
didn't
that
stick
up.
with it.
Nice.
But there's also HelloWordle.net, Wordle without the end, which is unlimited, free, no ads.
Again, it's interesting how all of these things have, come out of the sudden rise of this. How quickly people have been able to put these together, as well, and get them out.
Yeah.
Let's crack some more beers open. Aadil, we'll come back to you for your second beer.
Yeah. This one's from BC. It's from the Ferny Brewing Company. It's the Black Mammoth Winter Ale. Rich, strong, and decadent. It's 473 mil, 8% ABV. Crafted for you by bike riding, powered or chasing Ferny folk. Bring us along on your next adventure. Our Decadent Winter Ale, aged on oak and brewed with dark chocolate, cocoa, triple sec, and orange peel.
There's a lot in there. Or it sounds like there's a lot in there.
Yeah, so I'm curious. It's either going to be like a little too winter spicy for my taste, or really interesting.
Seems like a good beer to get
Have
into
it
this
2:20
time of
PM?
yeah. A good time. I've started reading the I've forgotten the name of the book from Johnny Garrett. What's it called, Lucy? You were reading it as well.
The Year in Beer?
Year in Beer, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I need to pick a copy of that.
Yeah, I've hit through January. I think I'm going to follow it. I'm not going to read the whole book now. I'm going to do month by month. So as soon as February hits, I'll read through the February chapter.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'll do that because I wanted to pick that back up because I think I got through half of January or something. So,
yeah. Nice. Lucy, what are you going to drink next?
I'm going to drink a beer from Cloudwater. Mentioning before.
Topical.
It's not a collaboration with Brewdog, as far as I know. And it is called I Say We and I Mean You and I Don't Know How.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you repeat the question?
I say we and I mean you and I don't know how.
Okay.
I'm saying it with like an inflection on the end, like there's a question mark. There isn't.
Of course,
it's just a nonsense sentence. But it's got Motueka, Citra, and New Zealand Cascade in it. It's a double IPA. It's 8%. And the flavor text is right. I don't know if you lot can see. It's right under where it says DIPA.
Lots of white can right there.
Yeah. Which is nice. It says soft and juicy, bursting with bright citrus and smooth tropical fruit flavors.
Nice.
That's it.
See how Cloudwater are doing with their dippers these days. It'll be good to see.
Well, I've already had this. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, the doubled up order. Yes, fair. I'm going to drink a new brewery for me. I don't know whether either of you would have had this because it's Greek. From Corfu. It's a 7-island brewery. It's called King Cyborg. What a fucking can. Look at that.
That's great. How on earth did you come across this?
It was in the bottle shop. It was in Bottle Books. So I picked it up. And I looked on their 7 Island are bigger on Instagram than they are on Twitter. They've got some fantastic can art on there. So hopefully their beers match with how fantastic their can art is. But this is, King Cyborg. It's a double dry hopped New England style double IPA with Citra and Strata hops. Again, almost no flavour text. It's just sort of allergens and addresses and things like that. But it's 8.2%.
I could go for
It's just like as soon as I saw it, I'm like, that looks fucking cool. What's that?
Yeah. And have we ever had a Greek beer?
I don't think I've ever had
I've never had a
Turkish.
Greek beer, period, as far as I know.
No, I don't think I have either. Unless I think EFES. I drank it a lot in Turkey, but I don't know whether it was Turkish or not.
I've been
Sounds Greek.
to Greece for over 20 years at this point. So
Oh yeah, this was a while. This was a long time
underage
when people were allowed to travel.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I want a souvlaki with it. So.
Look,
Maybe I have had a Greek beer in a Greek restaurant. Or it was probably just Peroni.
or just Tiger or something brought in randomly from down the road. Aadil, we'll come back to you. Was it Fernie? Fernie Brewing Company?
Yeah, Ferny being the BC very popular ski hill area, ski town. It also poured with very little head. Almost looks like a cola, except it's barely like you can see a little bit of lacing. It's just so non-carbonated. It smells like a sweet 8% with chocolate and cocoa. Oh, that's rich. Oh, fuck me. That oak, aged on oak business is there. This reminds me of a whiskey.
Wow,
I was
okay.
about to say, you were talking about whiskey earlier.
Our Decadent Winter Ale. Yeah, this is decadent. That oak is coming through. It's a bit smoky as well. and it finishes with a very nice, bitter, but not really long bitterness, and then the finish sort of lingering bitter, and then some of the sweet from the alcohol and the chocolate comes through.
Mm-hmm.
Just giving it a really nice finish that tastes like beer. As we've talked about before.
Yeah.
And I think that orange peel they mentioned is just sitting on top, rounding out the chocolate, the dark chocolate and the cocoa.
Yeah.
But this is like, it's not too fruity. It mostly tastes like a nice boozy winter ale. And then the oak kicks in, and you're like, oh wow, this is something to sip. This is like a after dinner at the ski hill in front of the fire type beer, which is perfect for middle of the day at a hotel.
At least it's cold outside, and you can kind of feel, some of that.
Is it? I think it's 8 degrees today.
That's warm.
Oh no, it's -2. It was 8 degrees yesterday.
All right. That's like tropical.
Yeah,
I love the difference.
No, this is an. I don't know why it's called Black Mammoth. It's probably one of their ski hills or something. This is a very excellent beer. I've never had such a profoundly barrel-y tasting beer. Like it tastes like I said, like a whiskey aged in oak barrels. It has that, but while still retaining, it fits with the rest of the beer profile.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yes, this is a rich beer that is oaky and a bit smoky.
It's not harsh like you'd expect a whiskey, but
exactly. So it has the right level of those tastes to match for a hearty beer, not for a whiskey.
Good.
It's
so
really
interesting.
Just over. Well, I mean, when you're aging it in like oak barrels, there's not much you can do really. But it's like some of them just way too harsh, way too peaty and smoky. It's
just take on too much of that.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah,
we'll see. Hopefully, I'm curious how it'll once my palate gets used to all the bits, how it'll sort of end up nearer to the end of the pint.
Mm-hmm. Good, nice. Lucy, the Cloudwater double IPA.
Yes. Similar looking to the last beer. Very, very straw coloured. Very, very thick looking.
It's a little bit lighter, almost on camera than the last one. Looks kind of. It's getting towards custard now.
A little, yeah. But yeah, maybe also a bit lighter in just looking at it in texture than the last one. But yeah, this is same tropical aroma. Probably a bit more orange in this one.
Yeah.
On the nose more than anything. Okay, I'm just seeing if the hops were. So they both have all different. Motueka, Citra, and Cascade in this one, whereas Equinox, Galaxy, and Strata in the other one.
Okay.
But I mean, probably a few years ago, I would have been like, "Oh yeah, this is quintessential Cloudwater."
Yeah.
But so many more breweries and beers are doing that very fruity kind of taste now, fruit forward kind of beers. But yeah, it's a little bit flatter compared to the last one. I don't know if that's just because it's been sitting out for a bit longer, but it's not quite as hoppy. But it's got a bit of fruitiness, probably not as much as the Whiplash. But it does have a really nice, sweetness to it that creeps in towards the end from the malt and probably whatever what the hops are doing, the fruits doing. So it's got a nice warming sweetness, but you couldn't tell that it's 8%. To be honest, it is quite light, in mouthfeel, in texture, in just the alcohol. It tastes very light. Actually tastes lighter than the Whiplash, to be honest. I don't know if that's just because it's less viscous or, but yeah, it's sometimes I miss like those, really like boozy kind of double IPAs from Cloudwater, like
Yeah.
when we had the series, like when they were doing all, what was it, 1 through 13 or something like it? I can't remember what number they went up to, but experimental. Some were, you could tell they were the booze shone through more than the others sometimes, even at the same percentage.
Yes.
And this one is like, oh, it feels quite light. And you know what? That's great, because I can't remember one summer it was just like, I just want, Cloudwater DIPA, and it was the only one there at the time, and it's like, oh, that's actually quite heavy. And it's like, oh, I'm still drinking about 7 of these, so oh well, but it's like you feel it. But this is quite light in that sense, which is nice. But yeah, I don't usually see Cloudwater anymore, like in my bottle shops or whatever, and it's like they are a staple. I mean, they're in supermarkets and stuff like that, but don't usually frequent your normal supermarket to get a beer nowadays. But so yeah, there has been like a long hiatus between me drinking Cloudwater and stuff like that. But like their recent like crop of beers, since I think like they moved to this like kind of more subdued packaging, maybe, they're actually quite nice, and it's like, I should seek them out some more. So usually I look at Cloudwater, it's just like, there was like a time where I felt like their quality and the taste of the beers was lulling.
Yep.
It's like I didn't go for them. But nowadays it's just like, yeah, like, don't know what they're doing over there. Like, in terms
just
of
super
this.
solid.
Yeah, they're still really solid. Like I can't remember the last time I had a Beavertown beer or a Magic Rock beer, for example. Companies who have been in the supermarket for quite some time, but yeah, Cloudwater is still doing the thing. You know.
Nice.
And when I went to their tap room in Manchester, gosh, it was like another world. It was just before the pandemic. December 2019, in the before times. Yeah, just all good. So.
When you walk in, it's just fireworks as you kind of go in the door, and every beer is just an absolute banger.
It is really nice in there, to be honest. And then they were next to Track. I don't know if they still are. But yeah, it's just, yeah, it was like going back to old Cloudwater. So yeah, I'm glad they're still doing really good things.
Nice.
Like not working with Brewdog, so that gets my sale as it is.
Good.
But yeah, really nice dipper.
So it's something slightly different. This is a dipper. It says that it's in a New England style. This King Cyborg from Seven Islands. The nose is incredibly light. So again, a little bit of mango, but sweeter this time. Little floral notes on there as well, and some citrus. Very, very light in there. But it's actually like the flavour kind of follows the nose in being quite light. So it's not a big punch of flavour, but there is a lot going on, even though it is quite a sort of subdued level of flavour. You're not punched by it as you drink it. But I say it's got a lot going on because I can see the little differences that are kind of coming into it. So there's definitely this kind of very tropical fruity sweetness to it, but it's got this lovely smoothness to it as well. This kind of, I guess it's the strata kind of doing its thing, just sitting at the back and just pulling it through with this lovely smooth light, very creamy kind of flavour that's just sat there sort of throughout. But it also then allows kind of like the malts to come through a little bit. It's got this nice like biscuity backbone to it as well, which again adds to the sweetness. Like this is sweet. Everything about this is very sweet. But again, it's subdued. It's not a big hit of sweetness. It's not like taking a sip of like Lucozade or something where you're just hit by the sweetness of that kind of drink. This is sort of like, ooh, that's nice and sweet. Ooh, that's slightly different, but also nice and sweet, whilst being very creamy and smooth sort of throughout it. I don't know, you know, I usually like, as I talked about with the first beer, I usually like when things are kind of a bit more punchy and they're dialed up just that little bit. But I don't know if this was dialed up, whether it would start to get a little bit too sickly. You know, it's kind of edging on those flavours, which if they're that big, that they start to get a bit kind of sticky and a little bit too much. And it feels like these have kind of been, maybe not balanced down, but they've been kind of, you know, brewed in quantities enough that it's sort of like, yeah, we just want you to have this flavour. We don't want it to be kind of too much. But it also, again, that kind of, that subdued nature almost evokes like a weaker beer as well. So this kind of feels a lot lighter than, what was it, 8 point something, 8.2. So it feels a lot lighter than that. You're not getting a stickiness from the sweetness. You're not getting a booziness from the sweetness. It is kind of, it's fruits, it's malts, and then there's that smoothness. Kind of that slightly creamy, sweet coconut sat in the background as well. And it just all works very, very well. Not too overpowering. So yeah, I like big, boozy, bitter, punchy beers.
And you cannot lie.
I think this would be a bit too much if it was any of those things. So yeah, there we go. That's the 7 Islands. We'll return to it and see if it started to subdue a little bit too much towards the end of the.
There's more than 7 islands in Greek, surely.
Maybe I think they're Corfu. Maybe Corfu's made up of, you know, maybe not Corfu necessarily is made up of 7 islands, but maybe that archipelago or whatever set of islands is 7 islands. Who knows? I'm sure a quick Google can tell us why potentially.
I think that's one for the brewery tour that we're going to go on. I want to go.
Sorted. What year are we allowed out? 2026 maybe. We might be alive by then. Who knows?
Wouldn't count on it.
We won't book our tickets just in case. Let's move back into games and enjoy all of these beers whilst we do so. Lucy, I'm going to come to you next for what you've been playing. You got anything you want to chat about this week?
Still playing some games that are still. Oh, it's the 26th. Probably under embargo. I haven't finished them anyway. So I don't know what time it is. I haven't been playing anything like solidly, like, you know, playing through a game or anything through to completion. I've just been tinkering and, you know, just hopping from game to game. I think having Game Pass and realizing there's more games in Game Pass that I'll ever get to.
Yeah,
it's okay to, you know, not play something through to completion if I'm not gelling with it, or if I find something more interesting. yeah, and it's like, you know, a couple of years ago I'd be like, if I start a game I want to finish it, and now I'm just like, whatever, I'll just play whatever, you know. However I'm feeling at the time, it's just like, I'll play that or I won't play that. What have I been playing? The game I have been playing most recently, and just like, you know, somewhat, no, I wouldn't say obsessively. I'd say I've played it a lot. I played it for 6 hours, and when did I buy it? Like 3 days ago or something like that, which is a lot for me. Like, you know, I seldom play games in like long stretches nowadays anyway. But it's called Vampire Survivors, and
I've heard about this one.
Yeah, because apparently it's gone viral. Like our good old Wordle, not quite to that extent, but You can play a pretty solid version of it in itch.io, just in your browser. That's how I tried it out, and then it's £2 on Steam. So I went, after I tried it out on itch.io, went straight to Steam and just like, this is a cool thing. I want to buy it and support it, because it's whoever just liberally like recreates Castlevania assets. It gets a thumbs up in my book, because the game's basically Castlevania if it was a twin stick roguelike. And I mean, Konami steals from people like launching NFTs, so other people should steal from them, really. Not that this game is the exact same assets, but it's like, if they literally just like pulled the image files from like the NES ROM or whatever it is, I wouldn't be surprised. Because it has all the weapons in Castlevania, like the axe, the holy water, the knives and everything. It's definitely drawing on the staples of that series, and like the art of that series. But it's a very low res pixelated top down bullet hell game. I say bullet hell with a caveat, in the sense that it's only, well, the bullets are all coming from you. You're not dodging bullets. You're dodging like literal hordes of enemies that are descending on you, that are just crowding around you. You're the one with all the weaponry. The thing is that it's not even a twin stick shooter. It's like literally you only control it with. Well, I'm playing it with my controller, so I'm only controlling it with one stick, which is just literally moving around the character. The weapons and your artillery are all automatic. They're all on like a cooldown.
Okay.
So yeah, it's literally a quote unquote one button game. You don't have to press anything. It's very accessible in that sense. You're just literally moving around the screen trying to dodge enemies. And all the weapons in the game, as I say, very much drawing inspiration from Castlevania. There's axes, so it's like you throw them and they just like tear through these enemies with like high damage. There's like holy water, and it starts spraying, random, basically drops on these little pools of enemies. There's the garlic, which basically gives you this like kind of circumference of damage, so anything that gets too close to you,
a bulb of damage.
Yeah. A clove of damage. And yeah, you have all these different starter characters. The one you start off with first has a whip, because
of course.
Others have like the throwing knives. Others have like this magic wand that's more like Cypher or something like that. And it's just it's Castlevania, but
they're not it doesn't rip it off too much. It's not like, rather than being Simon, it's like Byman, or Alucard, it's Dalakard or something. Yeah.
Not quite as, but the character models do look like very Castlevania-ish, so
You gotta give credit where it's due. Sort of, just rip off a game.
Yeah.
Change it enough that no one really knows, apart from those who are well into it. Yeah.
But I think that does contribute a lot to why I like it. But also, it is a very good game. It's in early access, but it's one of those games where it's like, okay, it doesn't matter how well this is balanced in terms of like all these weapons have a cooldown. It doesn't matter if that's like 0.8 seconds or 0.5 seconds at this time being. I imagine those little things will be tweaked and more weapons will be added. It's just a fun, the base of it, the foundation of it, it's just a really fun game. It's like it, because the whole loop is that you're, enemies descending on you. The enemies get tougher over time as you level up. to level up, you basically collect these gems. Every now and then, I think it's luck based and just RNG based. If an enemy drops this gem, this blue gem, and you pick up all these blue gems, and that each blue gem adds to your experience points, and as soon as you level up your experience, you get to choose out of 3 or 4 if your luck's good enough, but basically 3 different options, which is like, okay, would you like to add the Bibles that are like circulate around you and just do projectile damage,
Right.
a ranged attack, or would you like to increase how many whip attacks you have? Do you have 1 whip going in one direction, or do you have 2 whips that are just like hitting in front of you and behind you? Do you increase your luck? Do you increase your health? Do you increase your armor and stuff like that? And you keep leveling up and you keep getting new abilities, and it's like you're seeing how far you can go, basically.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a point where you get completely overwhelmed when there's hundreds of enemies just like descending on you, and it's like, okay, they're going to get me eventually, and the game ends, and it's like, I think the longest run that I've been on is like, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, and I've gotten up to level 32, and it's just funny at a certain point where it's just like, when you have a good run and you're just hosing down enemies and you're just, but that it's only a matter of time until you get completely swarmed, and you're just trying to get to a little corner or find another piece of health or something like that, and it's just like, oh my health's going down, and I've literally laughed out loud at just like the madness of it, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna get swarmed, but I'm gonna take as many of you MFs with me as I can before I go down. And throughout the level, there's like coins scattered in like candelabras and stuff like that, because it is Castlevania. And you can, when you go back to the main menu, you can basically do, permanent upgrades, like stat buffs and stuff like that. So, each time you start the game, you get a bit more health or a bit more armor, or your cooldowns are less, or something like that. So there are permanent upgrades, and that's where the roguelike, element comes into it, where you are incrementally making better characters at the start. So, and that's the gameplay loop, and it's something that I play like, oh, okay, I'm listening to a podcast, or just want to mess about in a game for 10-15 minutes. I mean, it's never just that long, because I always play for like multiple runs. That's how I've like clocked up 6 hours in the last 3 days or whatever it is. So yeah, it's great, it's fun, it's £2, it's so cheap, and it's like, yeah, I love messing around with it.
I've just purchased it on Steam.
Fantastic.
Yeah, looks good.
It's a cool thing for you to play like when you're on your lunch hour or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not one of those where it's like, oh, I feel like I should wait till the full game comes out. I feel like I'm, gonna miss out on content or this and that. It's like, no, it's just like, it's fine as it is. It's just, the changes you probably won't even notice. I'm still unlocking things as I go. I'm unlocking achievements, which I didn't know early access games had achievements, whatever. But it's just like, yeah. It's good. I'm glad it's blown up, because maybe someone will know to make more Castlevania.
They won't. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
There is a fan-made Castlevania apparently coming out, but we'll see if that gets stricken down.
Was that Bloodstained?
I think there's... man, Bloodstained's so good. But yeah, I've gone back to Circle of the Moon, which I started before Metroid Dread came out, and then Metroid Dread took over my life, so gone back to that. And
Nice.
it's just so good. Those games are so good.
Nice.
But yeah, I've just been doing other random crap, like playing Titan of the Dead, and it's just not
Nice.
It's very good. Yeah, I downloaded that and obviously needed unlimited continues to finish it, but I love weird crap. I love typing games anyway, but I love yeah. Bring back typing games.
Like text adventures.
No. Although bring those back as well.
I mean, there's space for both.
Yeah. I hope Microsoft make a King's Quest text adventure with their acquisition.
Well,
stick it on Game
they
Pass.
own they own all IP now, don't they? So it's they can do what they like. In a completely different side of thing, I've been delving into The Long Dark, which is a game from like 2014 or something. It's like 10 years old. So I was doing a Microsoft Rewards thing, right? And it said go in the Long Dark and walk 3 lengths or whatever it was, 3 kilometers or whatever it was.
You do then?
Oh, I own that game. Apparently.
Tip: you get a rubber band and you put it on across the joystick, and then you unlock the achievement that way.
Round in a circle.
You don't actually play the game.
So I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to play the game. And I walked around, and I thought, there's some interesting things going on in this. I'm going to actually play the game. So I launched into the campaign that is within it, and I'm currently in the 2nd chapter. I think towards the end of it, and enjoying the kind of like the survival elements of it, and again, with it being set in the far northern reaches of Canada, it ties me back to Aadil as well. I was missing him, so I was like, yeah, this brings me closer to him. I'm there as well.
But wild Aadil.
Yeah. Just appears from behind a rock. But it's different in that you need a chunk of time to kind of really get into it. I'm finding that the kind of the stop-start kind of sessions that I have aren't ideal for kind of for playing it, and suddenly 30 minutes has gone by. I'm like, I've done nothing.
Yeah.
I've made myself warm. I've eaten some things. I've moved I've moved from point A to point B. I have to turn it off now, and it is a quintessential sort of like survival game. But again, from what as an I think an early access game, maybe it's only as a finished product 4 or 5 years old, maybe. But it's good. I'm enjoying it, and it's drawn me in enough to want to continue on through the chapters. The main character, the main NPC that I came across in the 2nd episode, I was chatting to for ages. I'm like, where is this voice? Whose voice is this? And then suddenly towards, I'm right at the end of that episode now, and he starts talking about a radio, and he's like, I've got to call some people. And I'm like, it's fucking Snake. It's David Hayter. And I just literally like closed my eyes. I'm listening to this voice. I'm like, it absolutely is. And I did a quick Google. I'm like, yeah, it is. But it just suddenly started to talk about something that was slightly familiar to that voice. And I'm like, bam, that's what it is. Like the recognition instantly kicked in. But yeah, I'm interested to see kind of where it goes. And he doesn't quite start talking about the like military industrial complex and these kinds of things, but it's close. Like I feel that conversation coming on with this character. It's almost going to be there. But it's one that I'm really interested in, just sort of like delving into.
Yeah, I think when I first played it, because I think it came to like game preview or whatever they call it on Xbox years ago when it first launched, and it's like I swear there was like, because it was very early access, I think there was like only one mode in it, which was brutal, and I like tripped over a twig and died in like 5 minutes from like internal bleeding or something.
Yeah, like sprain your ankle, you're in pain. Can't move. Yep, it's got all of that stuff. It's really, I think that's part of the appeal of it as well, in that there's lots of these kinds of, not fail states, but lots of ailments that you can kind of get, which you can survive and find a way to, bandage yourself up if things go wrong, or find and explore to find like antibiotics and those kinds of things. Like it really leans heavily into that sort of survival element.
And there's different modes now, and I think that game has quite a healthy community, which is cool. So, yeah, I'm glad it stood the test of time. Even though we've gone back to it for Microsoft reward points, and that out of
that's why they do it, though, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, so
you fell for the PR point trap, but in a good way. It's mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
Yes,
the thing is that Ben doesn't realise that reward, that specific reward, has been on Game Pass on Microsoft Rewards probably about
5
4
years.
times now. Yeah, I think this is at least the 3rd time I've done it. So it's okay, get the rubber band out.
Again, it's like not. We won't lean into the ActiBliz kind of takeover Microsoft conversation today, but like, I really want to know the inner workings of like Game Pass and Ultimate, and what games they decide to make quests for you to get points on. Has the dev paid more money to be on that rotation of that, essentially promotion through the quests that you can get as Ultimate?
I've always wondered that as well. Someone needs to do a scoop.
They do. Maybe we could get... No, Phil Spencer's not coming to chat to us. Who's next? Aaron Green. Aaron won't come and chat to us, will he, either? Who else is it? Bill Gates. We'll get Bill Gates on, and he's like, I've got no idea about Xbox. Don't,
Yeah, you heard about the things that I'm doing about malaria?
Exactly. It's a very different podcast.
We just say we love Voodoo Vince, and if you say Voodoo Vince 3 times in a mirror, Phil Spencer, just appears. So, Try it.
We at some point we should talk about the Activision Blizzard buyout
thing,
but maybe not today. It's not solid at the moment. It's something that's maybe potentially not going to go through until next year anyway. So there's plenty of time for us to talk about it. So instead, let's finish there for this evening. Aadil, you opened a beer. You're very lightly sipping it right towards the top as well.
Oh, no. It's just small hotel cups.
Yeah. Yes. It does look very small against your hand. But we will lean into the beers and come back to, and probably for the last time, have a little comparison and a chat about the beers at the end of the episode. Because, friends, if we're going to go forward with this sort of new 1 hour segment, it'll be, we're drinking a beer. At the end of it, it's like, did you like it or didn't you? Yeah, it was good. Cool. Bye.
Yeah.
And then it will be the same for the next hour.
Yeah, basically, we're going to just be like, do you have last thoughts?
Yeah, exactly.
Or we won't mention it again,
Yes.
right? Most of the beer... The specific beer combo will be front loaded on each of the episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Aadil, for the last time potentially, and until we change it back in a year's time to what we're doing now, how do you feel about your beers this evening?
I mean, I like them both. I think it was. I'm just like I said. I think I'm spoiled by sours in the UK. The Zero issue, it was, like I said, if I had this a few years ago, it would have been great. It's well balanced. It's just that the fruit, the mango and the passion fruit and the sourness are very much things that they clearly tried to sort of sit together and like complement each other, but are separate things. While we sort of in the UK just have had such an improvement on sours, such that there's just a more wholesome, in the sense of a whole taste. Everything is sort of well blended from start to finish, and you're getting a much more interesting, more robust notion of a sour there. That the Innsmouth sort of was like, yes, I remember sours that taste like this. This is a good example of that, but it's not my favorite type of sour because I know about these other ones.
Yeah.
While the Ferny Black Mammoth Winter Ale is a beer that surprised me. It's a very good. You can't taste the 8%, except that it's sort of rich. It's a nice, strong, dark ale. And the orange peel and the triple sec actually did come out a bit, and once I got used to the oaky, slightly smoky, like that oakiness that I really, really clearly liked, I was kind of let down because I think the triple sec orange peel taste was kind of pulling back from that rather than being balanced. But it was only ever so much right before the finish. Like it was just sort of in the middle of the taste curve. I'm like, oh yes, I can see that part. It's not really doing the same as the rest. While like the chocolate and cocoa were working, like I said, were well melded with that oaky, rich, full-bodied ale. It's just a very good beer, and like I said, I've never had a beer taste like a barrel-aged Scotch in this way. Like it just, and at the right degree of it is oaky and a touch smoky, but not in the sense of oh yes, it's like we've poured whiskey into our beer and it's just like in your face oak. It's at the right level that you'd want an 8% beer to taste oaky. So it's just really interesting and tasty. So
nice,
kind of a no-brainer on that one.
Yeah, good. Lucy, we'll come to you then. I was going to say 2 double IPAs, but the Whiplash wasn't a double IPA, was it? It was only an IPA.
Yeah, and still working my way through the Cloudwater. Whereas the Whiplash, the water jump went very quickly. I was having to, slow myself down on that one. Yeah, I mean that's the winner. It just had more to it, despite being a just single rather than double. It had more fruit in it, like more fruitiness, more depth, I believe. A bit thicker, a bit creamier. It was just a bit more bold, a bit more, punchy. Whereas the Cloudwater, which is still a very good beer, slight sweetness, slight sweet undercurrent, just bringing everything full circle and having the fruitiness and. Cloudwater was a very good beer, but there's a new king in town doing the punchy fruity beers, and this Whiplash, and it's I would 5 years ago, before I even knew about Whiplash, didn't even know if they were around there. Couldn't see anything topping Cloudwater at that point. I mean, they may not have the crown now, but it's like they're still putting out really good beers, which, for a moment I thought was not the case. But it's like, they're still around. They're still doing their thing. Their beer still tastes good. But for something a bit more bold, a bit more, flavorful, Whiplash is just, that's the better beer, to be honest. At what? I guess it's like only 1.2% less. But
yeah,
still,
it's not
I'm gonna
much.
say half, but I don't know if that has something to do with the combination of different hops or whatever, but I just think Whiplash are doing things that are very special that even Cloudwater now may not be doing. So really good water jump. This one.
Nice. I am also going to go for my first beer this evening. Both beers were nice. I've got to remember how to say it. Azvex. That one.
We'll never be able to say that.
The non-alpha delta beer.
Just call it Delta Alpha. Or the Omega Sigma or something.
Yeah, just Omicron. That's fine. It wasn't a big beer. It didn't have that kind of like that punchy finish that I think that I felt was kind of coming. It wasn't anticlimactic, but it sort of felt like it was kind of lacking something. But as I drank through it more, and that flavour profile wasn't quite as stark, it wasn't like, here is the first flavour, here is what it's gone into, here is the next flavour. As it flowed that little bit more, it sort of felt a little bit more whole as a flavour. The King Cyborg, whilst again it felt good in terms of what was going on, it has, in the last, say, sort of half, got that little bit more sickly sweet. And as I was saying kind of at the top, that it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like it was going to go that way, but it kind of has. And again, I'm sort of sat with a little bit left in my glass because I'm reaching for it kind of less and less, because it's just not quite as appealing as it kind of first was. Whereas the Azvex, It's a silent Z, Avex. It was really good throughout, and the more I drank it, the easier it got, and the more that it kind of combined, that the flow sort of worked really, really well. So I'm really impressed with them as a first beer. I'm impressed with Seven Island, the flavours that they were first getting through that came through as well. But it has just turned that a little bit sickly for me. So it's kind of one which I'll probably sup again. A tiny bit of the glass left, but that's probably going to last me the next sort of 15-20 minutes at least, because it is just that little too much.
Yeah. Sometimes beers are like that. On another day, another brewery, Aadil's, oaky barrel-aged beer could have been like that. Like, hard to drink.
Yeah,
too cloying,
very much.
Yeah.
Just roll the dice.
And again, the joy of craft beer, right? The next beer from Seven Island Brewery might be an absolute banger. The next one from Azvex might top this one. It might come slightly lower. It's kind of the joy of all of the different kinds of beers that people put out and the styles that they try.
If we can't say it, how on earth is a Scouse going to be able to say that?
Azvex, eh?
Like the amount.
Azvex. It's definitely a silent Z. It's got to be a silent Z, isn't it? We'll ask them. We'll go to them and we'll find out for you, listener, viewer. What the fuck that name actually is. But you will be tuning in.
Maybe it's a slur in Liverpool.
Oh God! Oh no! We've been saying something rude for the entire episode. Standard, right? Yes, listener, you will be listening to a slightly different episode next week. We'll be coming at you for an hour, and then we'll be putting out, pretty much straight on the back of it, another hour. Are the games that we've been played and things that we want to talk about, conversational, and then getting a little bit more deep into something and having an hour of a topic or a big game review that we want to get into. Yeah, it gives you that little bit more choice in how you want to listen to us, but a little bit more bite size as well. You've only got an hour. Bam, straight through for the games and the things that we want to talk about. And then, come back to us in a couple of days' time for a bigger, in-depth kind of discussion when you've got all of your washing up to do, all your washing to put on, all your ironing that you need to crack through. Stick us on for that hour.
Vampire Survivors.
Exactly. We were playing something that you can have a podcast to chill out in on the background and just listen to in-depth discussions about one big topic. That's our big change coming from episode 300. That's a firework. I assume everyone has to do with episode 300, I guess.
I thought we were going to be rotoscoped or whatever and be very oily looking for this episode.
I'll edit it to hell, and I'll just do like loads of wipes and stuff into each.
Yeah, just put a couple TikTok filters and some slow-mo for Zack Snyder.
Exactly. Oh, it's all slow-mo. This episode's going to be 4 hours long because it's all slow-mo. You won't be able to understand anything we're fucking saying. There it is.
Just do the 2 times speed on YouTube or whatever.
What's that? Is it a Guinness advert where it's got that track? It's like boom, boom, dum, 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 and it's just Aadil slowly drinking his beer. Friends, if you want to get a hold of us and tell us how we should be drinking our beers, whether it should be in slow motion or what the soundtrack should be, you can go to @TankedUpCast on all of the socials and tell us. You can go to outoflives.net as well, and on our posts there, and on the Out of Lives Network YouTube page, you can find a link to our Discord. If you want to come and chat to us about Bobby Kotick being an absolute cunt, you can do that. Come and chat to us every day over on the Discord or on our Twitter. I'm at @over_47 if you've got any beers or game recommendations for me. If you want to talk to Lucy about Castlevania, you can do that on her socials, which is
Juicy Loose 9, and send me some Game Boy games. Because I have nothing else to do.
Game Boy.
Do you mean actual cartridges or do you mean titles?
No, actual
slash file
cartridge.
ROMs.
Oh wow.
Actual cartridges, because I have no idea where I put mine. I know what vessel it's in. I don't know where it is.
I found
Okay.
my in my parents' cedar closet, which I thought my mom just got rid of all of my old games, except for my aforementioned OG Game Boy with Link's Awakening stuck in it.
That was
But
still
I
stuck in it.
found
Yes. Yeah.
some old Sega games and some old NES games, as well as the original Game Boy Simpsons game and Spider-Man
wow.
2, not based on the movie, just the second Spider-Man game that came out for the
Did
Game
we have
Boy.
all the
Nice.
same games? Because I had those as well. No, I had Simpsons Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah, no, I'm talking
Spider-Man
OG, like
Yeah,
gray
I
cartridge.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I bought Tetris
5 pixels are bar, 3 pixels are an attack.
I bought Tetris because I can't remember where I
course.
put all of my cards, but yeah.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah, I put a new screen on it.
Oh, nice.
The
Okay.
text has like gone a bit, but
Yep.
I was thinking of maybe no one like does like decals of Game Boy. Well, for obvious reason, because who the hell would want that other than me? But
Oh, there's plenty of people.
3 sales a year.
yes. But yeah. Playing Tetris on
Anyway,
the Game Boy.
Aadil, if people want to get hold of you and let you know when you're back in the UK with all of your systems and platforms, what you should be playing, how do they do that?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask what hotel room I'm in. I'm in room 205. No, you can reach me at the Omniarch on all of the things. Yeah, TheOmniarch. I think in the new year I might be streaming more while I'm more actively job searching. Might as well do something
Nice.
on the side. I'm also probably going to restart my _Omniarch Twitch channel for productivity streams, just because that helped me keep on track. So it's like lo-fi, royalty-free, twitchable music, and just basically
Aadil
I'm going to work.
Yeah,
I'm going to do work on the Pomodoro style work thing. And if you like the idea of working in a cafe with someone, it's a virtual cafe type idea.
Nice.
I did it for a bunch of 2020, and then I lost track of things. And it was 2020, so
Yeah.
so I might start that again. But yeah, other than that, that's me, and I'm looking forward to coming home on Friday.
Hooray!
Well, Saturday by the time I arrive.
Yes. And we are looking forward to seeing you back here and actually hanging out as well.
Yeah.
Hooray! At some point,
It'll still be on
when
Discord.
things.
It'll just,
I mean,
Yes.
we'll just
But
both be
for a
drinking at the
little
same
bit.
time.
6 weeks
for a little bit. Yeah, we'll definitely have some actual face-to-face time soon as well, which will be very nice. Listener, at some point things might open up and we can get some face-to-face time with everybody. Who knows? Who knows what will happen over the next year? None of us.
I hope to. I haven't been out in like 2 months, so it's like it's time.
Exactly. It is time. Is it? Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know how much longer I can last.
Join us next week, everybody, for a slightly shorter experience, and then probably the day after for another shorter experience that's just slightly different. And that's how we're going to roll going forward. Thank you for joining us this evening. We've been tanked up. Goodbye.
Ciao.
Oh, I can't say ciao now.
Oh no,
he's here.
unchow.
Ciao now.
Ciao. Bye.
www.outoflives.net